How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I had a great chat with Connor Kenny, and I wanted to play it for you on this video. We talk about CPI, we talk about what's happening in the market, the buoying, whether we think the Fed lowering rates is actually going to be good or whether it's going to crash the market and all that kind of information. If you want to check out Connor's channel, there's a link underneath the video. If you do want to trade cryptocurrency, there's a link underneath the video to Margex where you can trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and you can use all different forms of collateral too. So you don't just use USDT for Bitcoin trades or just Bitcoin for Bitcoin trades. You can use Solana, you can use Ethereum, you can use Caspa, you can use all different kinds of crypto. So check that out underneath the video. They're also doing a big airdrop right now that they just lengthened out, so you can make some money there. There's also a link to CoinW as well, where they're also doing a ton airdrop like the Telegram coin, which has been insane run this year. You can check that out underneath the video as well. But let's get into the content.
What's up, Sam? Welcome back to the channel.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
I wanted to get your opinion, your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the market. We had a nice little push upwards. I saw you made a video, 59K, and now we're all the way back to where we started. So yep. What do you think is going on? Is CPI bullish? Is it bearish? Is Bitcoin's price going to go to $1 million tomorrow? What's going on?
Yeah, let me share my screen with you here. So I think it's important to remember off the bat that CPI is manipulated. People still look at it, but it's still manipulated based on the fact that we have different factors that weigh it, that come in and out. And we don't control those factors. It's not what we spend money on either that makes up the CPI. It's a random basket of goods, right? But people still look at it. People want to know, okay, is inflation going down or up? The general public doesn't always understand what inflation is. I think like if we have 3% inflation, it's still 3% on top of what it was last year. So it's like the cost of goods continuously goes up. Even if we're in low inflation, it doesn't actually make things cheaper. Now, we can see though that the actual CPI came in this morning, or depending on where you're at, it came in a couple hours ago at the time of this recording, and it came in at 3%. The forecast was 3.1. The previous was 3.3. This is the lowest point that we've seen in a year, and it's the exact same point that we saw about a year ago. Before that, it had been 2021 before we had seen CPI at 3%. So I think there are a couple of different things that are really key here. One, we have hit this point a couple times, so we hopefully get a lower print even next month. Another thing is it's good to see this coming in lower than expectations, but another thing that's important is that it's actually coming down substantially. Like if we were going up, but it was lower than expectations, people seem excited, but still going up. What's important here is it's coming down and it's lower than expected. So the market should be excited about this. Now, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ are both down a little bit here today. Crypto's down here a little bit today. This is why it's really hard to play these types of big events, because even if we get the news that we wanted, well, some people thought it was even going to be better, for example, or someone repositions, and then we can see the market fall down. Generally, though, I think this is bullish. We do have PPI come in tomorrow, which is the producer price index, which looks at more like what producers are paying for materials, which is more of a leading indicator than CPI, because that's what we are paying after people have already produced them or after companies have already produced goods. So that will be important tomorrow. But generally, I do think this is important. If we actually, let me see if I can pull up one other thing here. There is another chart as well that shows the expectations of rate cuts in September. So obviously, if rates are lower, people are getting less on their savings accounts. They're probably going to invest into higher risk assets. And as you can see here, the 1 day ago projection was only a 70% chance of a 25 basis point rate cut in September, but now it's at about 85% likelihood. So there is a big change. A lot of people are expecting now that we're going to see this rate cut in September, which is bullish for the markets. Now, whether the Fed just rate cuts one time, 25 basis points, and then holds it for a while, or whether they continuously cut rates at each following meeting will probably be based on how the economy is doing based on CPI and PPI and PCE numbers that continuously come out. But overall, this was a pretty big changing point in the market that I think is pretty bullish.
So I got two questions. One, why did we pump and then basically dump all the way back down to before it came out? And two, if we do have these rate cuts in September, do you think that's bullish? Or I do see a lot of people saying that once rate cuts start, it actually means recession is about to happen. So what are your outlooks on both of those things?
Yeah, so I think it's easier probably to tell why Bitcoin is falling down than why the broader markets are. So Bitcoin pumped up to 59.4 or so right after the rate cuts. Let's take a look at crypto liquidations. Usually liquidations account for a good portion of why the market moves as it does. Over the last 4 hours, we've had, well, actually longs and shorts got wrecked almost equally, 18.4 million in short, 25.5 in long. I would have guessed that it's people that are getting liquidated, some whale manipulating the market, but maybe it's just that people were buying ahead of this CPI print, that they were getting excited, and now they're taking a little bit of profit. It's hard to tell. I mean, we got close up to 60,000 as well, which is a key psychological level. I think it's harder to tell why the NASDAQ and why the S&P 500 aren't moving up today, but they have been pretty relentlessly going up. Like the S&P 500, I don't know what the win streak is right now, but it's, let's see, it's up significantly over the last couple weeks. I mean, it's up 1.2% in the last 5 days, which isn't great, but over the last month, up 4%, 6 months, 17.2% year to date, 18% 1 year, 26%. It's just pretty much a straight line. And the NASDAQ's doing even better because big tech stocks are just crushing it every single day. It seems like Google, Amazon, Nvidia is all up 1 to 2%. Tesla's up to 270. So maybe it's just, again, people repricing. Maybe it's that yesterday it kind of got leaked because the NASDAQ pumped all day long and was at 1.2% by the end of the day after it's already been up day after day. So it's hard to tell exactly. That's why, again, it's hard to play these kinds of big economic events because there are a lot of expectations that are baked in. And what was your other question there?
The other question was the rate cuts coming in September. Do we think that's bullish or are we going to go into a recession? But before we jump into that, I think it is quite interesting how little, because we're so jaded by crypto, I think that no one is actually realizing how insanely bullish the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 have been. Like, I don't think, like, I know it's basically just Nvidia, right? But like I see this so much because obviously my entire feed on like TikTok or whatever is like financial people talking about just putting all your money in the S&P 500 and it growing at 7% or 10% a year, right? And it's more so now than when we were in a bull market, even though we are literally still in a bull market in the stocks, right? But like more so now I see in the comment section is that, oh, you would never get that sort of return on the S&P 500. Yeah, good luck with that, mate. Like that sort of stuff. And yet we've done what, 20% in this year alone, which I like, and we've continually done that. And that's not to say we're not going to crash and all these people, these doom and gloom people are going to be right. But it's just like people just discount this so much. It's like absolutely insane to me.
Yeah, there's one YouTuber that I really like, and he picks out individual stocks, a lot of like value focused stocks. And it's Joseph Carlson. He did a video yesterday and he talked about the best investment he's ever seen. And he talked about just the indexes. You know, indexes are a great way of investing for a lot of people. For us, we have a lot of time to invest. And I think when there's something that people feel very strongly about, there's an opportunity to outperform, whether they hate it or like it, like Bitcoin, right? People hate it in the bear market. People love it in the bull market. And it's easier to play if you can handle your emotions. You can make outsized returns. But like the Vanguard S&P 500, if you had invested, what, 10 years ago, it's up 200%. So you have tripled your money in 10 years and there's no emotion. You don't have to go maintain it like a rental property. It'd probably be up as much as a rental property. But like you were talking about some NASDAQ companies, like, yeah, it's not just Nvidia. Nvidia is obviously pulling the market a lot, but Google's up 60% in the last year. And they're not like this I mean, they're a growth stock, but they were still one of the largest companies in the world a year ago. Amazon's up 52% last year. Tesla is actually, I think, down over the last year, 2.4%, but from April 22nd, it's up 85%. So you can still get outsized returns. Even if you had bought Tesla a couple months ago, it's kind of cherry picking, right? Because Bitcoin, I think, was at the peak of the market and Tesla pretty much bottomed around that time, but you could be up 100% versus if you had just stayed in Bitcoin. So it is interesting to take a look at that.
Yeah. So when it comes to the rate cuts in September, what are we thinking? Is that going to be the start of the next leg up, or is it going to be the start of doom and gloom for the entire world?
Yeah. Who knows what happens by then? Like, what are the factors that are around it? But I think overall, it's probably good for the market because it doesn't seem like we're coming at those rate cuts from a position of weakness. It's not like the Fed is having emergency meetings like there's some big COVID event, or we're going into a great recession with a housing crash or something. It seems like they're just lowering it because, yeah, the economy is a bit restrictive right now. Like, we are seeing signs of weakness. I covered yesterday, housing prices have reduced in 25% of listings over the last month. I forgot what website that was that showed that, but that's the most number of reduced listing prices that we've seen in a long time. And they're just more and more factors like that keep on coming up, like more companies going bankrupt and that kind of thing. But it's not like there's some major economic collapse. So I think that will be beneficial to the market. I mean, there are some companies, as crazy as it sounds, that benefit from this higher rate environment, or it can just like stick it out better. If you're a big company that has a lot of cash, let's say you have 100 billion in cash, which there are only a handful of them that do this, but you can make a 1.25 billion a quarter. I mean, look at Tether, right? They make a lot of money from this environment. Of course, they'll probably make a lot of money too if everyone comes into crypto because it's going up a lot, but they're making money from treasury yield. So I think for the general stock market, it will be good for the market, but who knows? I mean, even in crypto, I think it's going to be a bullish end of the year, but who knows what happens between now and then. I did see like right before we jumped on here, the SEC officially ended their investigation into stablecoin issuer Paxos, declaring BUSD not a security. So there's stuff like that all the time that comes up that's pretty beneficial or pretty positive for crypto in general, like good regulation news. And like there's Trump now going to Bitcoin Nashville that I think causes more buzz in the space, which I think is, again, just beneficial.
What's absolutely nuts about the SEC dropping that case is they absolutely destroyed BUSD. Like BUSD had like $20 billion of TVL and now it has one. Like they destroyed the company. And then they're like, yes, nah, forget it. It's all good, guys. Do what you want. Like, you just destroyed the company. Like what? Like what's going on here? Yeah. Anyway, we have to deal with that each and every day. All right, Sam, I appreciate your insights. Thank you for stopping by. If anyone wants to check out Sam's videos, there is a link down there in the description. Sam, always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Bye.